Now with me is Duncan Livingstone, standing in Ayre and Michael, a busy area now, and 8th of you, it's going to be interesting. But what made you stand?
Thanks for having me, first of all, and thanks for anybody who takes the time to watch this video. The reason I stood is just frustration and dismay. It just seemed that the way government was being run didn't tie in with what people wanted. People were frustrated that grand designs were taking place when the basics, the little things, weren't being done. Obviously, one you've had mentioned many times, potholes. A big one, footpaths though as well. The footpaths are just not being maintained. We're selling ourselves as a holiday destination. We've just got a walking festival coming up. The footpaths aren't passable. They're Radna fallen. There's places where you can't get through. So I got involved politically a couple of years ago when the DOI had a road scheme in Michael, which I completely disagreed with.
You put a simpler thing forward, I think.
Yes,
wasn't it?
yeah.
Did it work? How did it end up?
They didn't take all of my ideas, but they certainly phased back on what they were planning. So
you had interaction with government, and that was an interesting moment, I'm sure.
Yes, yeah. And that was one of the other things in relation to that. They call it consultation, but they spend hundreds of hours preparing plans. They've done similar in other places on the island, and then they come to you and they say this is our consultation. But the Pulrose Bridge one, which has just been done there, they'd already put the pavements in before they'd actually done the consultation.
The big question though is when you get in, if you got in, how can you change this world? I ask everyone the same thing because I'd love to know what the answer is if there is such an answer. Do you think there is?
And that's one of the things which has slightly disappointed me as I've gone round, is there's almost a sense of despondency that nothing will change. It doesn't matter who they vote for, the system is going to go on the same. My answer is, you may be right, but it's only by being on the inside I can try banging my head against that wall and try and get some change, because I think there is a need for change. To my mind, politics should be easy. It's like people get elected to represent the people. They go in with the ideas, they present the ideas to the civil servants, and the civil servants follow through and deliver on those proposals. It just feels, looking from the outside, that isn't how it's happening at the moment. It feels like the civil servants are making the policy, they're guiding and deciding which way we should go, and then the politicians are the face men who try and sell it to the public. So it seems a bit back to front to me.
Do you think you can change it?
I don't know, but only by getting in can I try.
Yeah. So there's some of the local issues. Obviously, washing away the whole of the north of them must still be an issue as well, isn't it? I mean,
it is, yes. Coastal erosion. You can't solve it. It's the sea is going to take away. There's an awful lot of the coastal erosion actually doesn't come from sea action, though. An awful lot of it is from drainage off the land. So culverts not being maintained, things like that. That has an effect as well. I know there's plans for revetments, which the previous administration have put in place. The finance wasn't approved for it, but the plan is to put revetments from Glenwillan to Ayre, which is a distance of about, I think, 800 metres, something like that. The plan with that is just because there are so many houses there. There's probably hundreds of millions of pounds of houses, and you're not going to stop it, but you might slow it down, which will preserve those houses. It's not something you can do along the whole coast, though.
On the national issues, and I take potholes is national as well as anything else.
Yeah.
Anything particular you got in mind, for the government way forward, and how would you see it going?
First and foremost, do the basics first. Stop coming up with grand designs.
We're trying to hear the prom and things or what?
Well, I mean, the promenade is sort of a done deal. It's history. It needs to be finished off. Yeah. But again, I'm sort of biting my tongue a little bit with this one. They've got a scheme which is going to. They've costed 1.3 million to put the bridges in back over Glenwillan, Glenmore, and the Peel Road. For the heritage, cyclists and it's for the heritage trail.
You think that's a bridge too far? Say the pun.
It's a lovely idea, but when there's so much basic which is wrong, I'm not sure that money needs to be spent there at the moment. It's lovely, but having just the heritage trail, which runs from Douglas to Peel and then from St John's to Ayre Michael, when every other footpath on the island needs attention. You could employ an awful lot of people.
You like
for an
your
awful lot of
footpaths.
times.
You definitely like
I do like my footpaths. I love walking.
Yeah. I mean, you are an instructor now, a car instructor.
I'm a driving instructor.
That's word.
Yeah.
And you police, is your background
Yes,
and that sort of
yeah.
thing. So your skill set, where would you? Are you going to say DOI or something? Like
Well, certainly roads
Yes.
is where my expertise lies.
Yeah.
I was a traffic officer for 20 years.
Yeah.
I was a collision investigator, so I dealt with the not particularly nice collisions. I was also the advanced driving instructor. I think the driving test needs updating. I think the driving test on the Isle of Man hasn't been updated in a long, long time.
Well, they're computerised, isn't it? I mean, before my time, now you have to do a sort of
That's
thing.
just the theory test, though.
Yeah.
The actual driving test hasn't been updated the same as the England one has.
Okay.
So in the UK, you only do one manoeuvre now. You still have to learn them all, but there's a lot more emphasis on driving. Over here, there's still the 3 manoeuvres: turning the road, reverse round the corner, the parking. And so your actual driving is about 10 to 15 minutes driving around Douglas. That's the test. The collisions which are involving where people are getting injured, they're happening out on the open road. They're happening where kids are driving too fast.
And would you increase the limit, on the young 16-year-olds getting licences and that sort of
Well,
thing?
no, I
You happy with that one?
think the R plate restriction is a good idea when we don't have a national speed limit. One idea which was mooted many years ago, just before the 2007 crash actually, there was talk of having a skid pan up at Derby, which learners would have to have a go at before they would be allowed to take the test. Another idea was that instructors could have an R plate exemption where they could take R plate drivers out and have them driving a little bit quicker.
Oh.
So if you're with a qualified instructor, you could maybe go up to 70 instead of 50.
So DOI, is that what you're going to say? Is if you were asked to be part of government, that was where you'd fit?
I think
best?
that's probably where my strength is.
And would you want to be in government or just backbench? How do you see yourself? pursuing?
I think certainly at the moment I would be learning, so I think backbench at the moment would be sensible.
So not looking for.
I'm not looking for a position straight away.
I'm not saying a minister, but just being a member of the department.
If they offered me a position in the department, I would go in and hope that I could help and change as much as possible.
So how's this the last 5 years? I mean, how do you view the government? Is that part of your reason you're standing because frustration, or you agree with how they've done things?
Firstly, I'd take COVID out of the equation. I think they dealt with COVID excellently. I think the COVID response was very good. I know it was unfortunate with deaths.
Sure.
And
but you're happy
were made.
where we are with the openness of the island?
Yes, with COVID, I think they've done very well indeed.
Okay, park that.
Apart from that, I think mistakes have been made.
Examples?
Well, if you just look at on social media at what people think of the DOI should not be the most hated department in
They've had a
island.
review, of course, haven't they?
Yes, and there's talks of breaking it up, which we'll have to see if the next administration can do that or not. I've got a friend in the DOI who said to me he doesn't tell people who he works for. That's how bad the name of the DOI is. So we should be looking to move away from that. We should be looking. We're not going to get rid of roads. No. Roads are going to be here no matter how much we move into more environmentally friendly times. On a small island like the Isle of Man, the roads are the lifeblood. We need to get food to the shops, and they should just be well maintained. They should be fit for purpose.
I mean, we could talk about DOI for a long time. I have a feeling.
I do have other things that I'm sort of passionate about.
Give me a minute to do it.
Right. Well, one of my other things, which I've had a lot of feedback on, and has been mentioned it's been mentioned at the Derby requisition meeting. It's been mentioned at the Blaff requisition meeting. Is the issue with drugs? Drugs is a big issue on the island.
Where are we going with them?
I think we should legalise cannabis. And I think we should decriminalise it.
And as an ex-policeman, that's interesting.
I hope so.
Yeah,
but I've dealt.
You've seen it.
I've seen it. Yes. I'm not talking about on the 24th of September. We get rid of the law. We change. It would need to be a measured approach. It would need to be regulated. But drug use and addiction, which can be two separate things, especially the addiction side, it's a welfare issue. It's potentially a mental health issue. We shouldn't be criminalising people because they've got a couple of pounds worth of cannabis in their car.
It's cat and mouse thing that just goes on continuously.
The war on drugs is lost. We're not going to win. We're just stemming the tide a little bit.
And of course, we're having the farmers are going to be able to produce this, albeit for medical uses.
But potentially, if you opened it up, it's bringing revenue into the government. It's legislated. It's regulated. The quality control is there.
Okay.
It could be a benefit to the island.
Because time. Who would you like to be as Chief Minister?
No idea. I will.
No idea.
Well,
come on, must be a shortlist.
Well, the two names which pop up frequently
But
are obviously Alf and Alex Allinson.
But
those are
there
the
are
two
others.
that come on.
There's
Yes,
plenty of others. You could have a list. Anyone you want.
I will wait to see who puts a name forward,
Yeah.
and I will listen to what they have to say, and I will make a decision based on that. I'm not fixed in my thinking. I have my opinions, which people might agree with, the drugs one being an obvious one, and I'm willing to listen to argument, but in relation to listening to argument, I'm not fixed in my thoughts.